There are moments in life when the universe sends us a whisper, a sign, a warning. And sometimes that whisper comes as a strong command: don't go outside. Not because the outside world is evil, but because the lesson you need is inside. When God says, don't go outside on 20th of September, He is not only protecting you from danger, He is calling you to look within, to pause, and to reflect. We live in a world where we are constantly running outward, chasing things, chasing people, chasing validation. But what if one day is not about running? What if one day is about stopping, breathing, and listening? When you hear the words, God said don't go outside, the first response that many people feel inside their hearts is fear, confusion, or resistance. The mind begins to question, why am I being told to stop? Why can't I continue with my plans? Why is something being taken away from me? And in this moment of questioning, you stand at the edge of understanding something profound, that what feels like a restriction is often the greatest form of protection. Too often in life we confuse being held back with being denied, but life is not about denial, life is about timing. When the divine places a pause before you, it is not a punishment, it is a shield. When the universe whispers, don't go outside today, it may very well be saving you from a storm that you cannot see, from a danger that you cannot sense, or from a path that would have led you astray. And if you carry wisdom in your heart, you begin to realize that not every open door is meant to be walked through, and not every road is safe to travel. Think about how a loving parent behaves with their child. If a child tries to run into the street while cars are racing by, the parent will not hesitate to grab the child's hand and hold them back. To the child, it may feel unfair. The child may cry, may resist, may think the parent is too strict. But the truth is, that parent is offering the highest form of love, the love of protection. That same principle applies to the guidance that God places before you. When the divine voice whispers, don't go outside on the 20th of September, it is the same as that parent pulling you back from a busy road. It is not meant to make you feel trapped. It is meant to keep you alive, safe, and aligned with your higher purpose. We must understand that protection is not always visible. You cannot always see what you are being saved from. Just because your eyes cannot perceive the storm does not mean the storm is not there. Imagine walking through a forest at night. There may be traps, snakes, or deep pits waiting ahead of you, but without a light, you would walk straight into them. If someone calls out and says, stop, do not move forward, you may feel annoyed. But if you trust that voice, you are spared from harm. God's guidance is that light. When He says don't step outside, He is illuminating dangers you cannot perceive. And even if you don't see the threat, even if you don't understand why the command is given, obedience is the wisest path, because the one who sees the entire picture is guiding your steps. In our human nature, we often resist stillness. We are taught to always do, to always move, to always achieve. When a command comes to pause, it feels uncomfortable. We begin to associate stopping with failure, with weakness, or with missed opportunities. But the truth is that sometimes the greatest opportunity is hidden in the pause. If you are told to stay inside, it could be that your body needs rest, your soul needs reflection, or your spirit needs to avoid a storm that would drain your energy. How many times in your life have you pushed forward blindly, only to realize later that you were walking straight into a situation that caused you pain? And how many times did you later say to yourself, I wish I had listened to my intuition, I wish I had waited? The divine voice saying, don't go outside, is the protection you wish you had listened to in the past. It is the wisdom you prayed for. It is the answer arriving before the question is even spoken. The ego inside of us wants freedom without boundaries. We want to believe that we always know what is best for ourselves. But the soul understands something deeper. True freedom is found in trust. When you trust the divine, You no longer feel punished by restrictions, you feel protected by them. Imagine a bird in a storm. The sky is filled with lightning and heavy winds, and the bird is told to remain in its nest. At first, the bird may long to fly, to stretch its wings, to feel the air. But the bird who obeys survives the storm, and when the sky clears, it soars higher than ever before. The bird that ignores the warning and flies into chaos may never return. This is the meaning of divine protection. The nest is not a cage. The nest is safety until the time is right to fly again. We must also learn to reinterpret what it means to lose an opportunity. Sometimes you think staying inside means missing out on something important, a meeting, an event, a moment. But the truth is, if you are being divinely guided to stay put, then what you think you are missing was never meant to be yours. No blessing that belongs to you will ever be taken away because of obedience. In fact, obedience ensures that blessings arrive in perfect timing. When you trust that protection is a gift, you are no longer chasing every open door. You begin to recognize that not every open door leads to light. Some lead to darkness. And the divine voice is the only compass that never fails. To understand this truth, you must practice surrender. Surrender is not weakness. Surrender is the strength to say, I do not know everything, but I trust the one who does. When you surrender to divine guidance, you are not giving up your power. You are aligning with a power greater than your own. Think of the sailor on a vast ocean. The sailor may want to sail east, but if the winds are strong against him, forcing him to pause, forcing him to wait, he has a choice. Resist the wind and break the sail, or surrender to the pause. Trust the storm will pass, and sail smoothly when the winds shift. Which sailor survives? The one who recognizes that nature's pause is not an enemy, but a protector. In the same way, divine instruction is the wind guiding your ship. Fighting it only brings exhaustion. Trusting it brings safe arrival. So many people in life look back and say, I wish I had been stopped before making that decision, before walking into that room, before trusting that person. And here you stand, given the very thing others wish for, the warning, the command, the protection. To ignore it would be to dishonor the gift. God never places a restriction without a reason. You may not see it, but later, when the danger has passed, you will understand. Many people have stories of near misses. I was delayed by just a few minutes, and I avoided an accident. My train was late, and I missed being at the wrong place at the wrong time. I listened to the inner voice telling me to stay back, and it saved my life. These stories are not accidents. They are evidence of divine protection. To call them coincidences is to blind yourself to the love that constantly surrounds you. The lesson here is to begin seeing protection as the highest form of love. Just as a shepherd guards his sheep from wolves, just as a parent guards their child from harm, the divine guards you from paths not meant for you. The walls you face are not barriers, they are shields. The closed doors are not rejections, they are redirections. The pauses are not punishments, they are preparation. Every moment you are told, don't go outside, is a moment you are being given time to build inner strength, clarity, and patience. Because what is waiting for you beyond the pause will require more of you. And if you rush forward unprepared, you will collapse. But if you wait, if you trust, you will rise when the moment is right. On the 20th of September, if the message is to stay inside, take it as a day of honor. You are being singled out, chosen for a lesson deeper than action. This is not a day of fear, but of faith. Instead of seeing what you cannot do, see what you are being invited to do, to rest, to reflect, to align. Use that stillness to connect with yourself, to breathe, to pray, to meditate. Understand that outside the walls of your home, there may be storms, but inside the walls of your heart, there is peace. And God is guiding you toward that peace. Every instruction has purpose, and every pause has power. Learn to cherish them, because they are not given lightly. They are given with love. So remember, protection is never punishment. It is love in its purest form. The day you realize this truth is the day you will stop fighting the pauses and start embracing them. The divine is not taking something away from you. The divine is ensuring that nothing takes you away from your purpose. That is why the words, "Don't go outside," are not chains. They are wings. Wings that will carry you safely over storms you never even had to face. The world has taught us that journeys are about distance, about stepping out into roads, crossing borders, climbing mountains, or reaching faraway lands. But what most people never realize is that the longest, deepest, and most transformative journey a human being can ever take does not require a passport, a ticket, or even a single step outside the door. It is the journey that begins when you turn inward, when you travel from the noise of the outside world into the silence of your inner self, when you stop searching outside for answers and begin listening to the quiet wisdom that has always been inside you. This is why when the divine says, "Don't go outside on the 20th of September," it is not an act of limiting your life. It is an invitation to start the greatest journey of your existence. You may believe that progress only happens when you move your body, when you chase opportunities, when you keep running outward. But the truth is that some of the most powerful transformations happen not when you run forward, but when you sit still. The outer journey may change your location, but the inner journey changes your life. When you look at the lives of those who have found deep peace, clarity, and wisdom, you will notice one thing. They were not the ones who always chased the horizon, but the ones who dared to sit with themselves. The sage on the mountain, the monk in meditation, the warrior who trains his mind before lifting his sword. These figures remind us that strength, clarity, and destiny are not forged outside, but inside. Yet in the modern world, we are constantly trained to look outward. We believe happiness is out there, success is out there, answers are out there. And so we exhaust ourselves in endless chasing, never realizing that what we are looking for has been within us all along. The divine command to pause, to not step outside, is a sacred reminder the journey that matters most is not in the streets or cities, but in the silence of your own soul. Imagine for a moment that you are given a treasure map. You spend days and nights chasing the treasure across mountains, across deserts, across oceans. You endure hardship, exhaustion, and pain because you are convinced that the treasure lies somewhere far away. But when you finally collapse in despair, when you finally give up the search, you look within your own home, and there, hidden in the corner of your room, lies the very treasure you spent your life chasing. This is the story of humanity. We look outward for peace, for joy, for meaning, when the treasure has always been within. The message of "Don't go outside" is not a limitation. It is the divine turning your face toward the map that points inward. It is a reminder that the answers you seek will never be found in the noise of the crowd, but in the silence of your own heart. But why is the inner journey so difficult for people? Because silence is uncomfortable. Stillness is confronting. When you sit in a room without distraction, you begin to hear the thoughts you have been avoiding, the fears you have buried, the doubts you have ignored. The outside world is a constant escape from your own reflection. That is why people keep running, because if they stop, they must face themselves. Yet facing yourself is the beginning of true transformation. If you cannot look within, you will never grow beyond. The divine does not say, "Stay inside," to trap you, but to liberate you from the endless escape you have been living. He invites you to sit, to listen, to breathe, and to discover the self you have abandoned in the chase. The journey within is not about comfort, it is about truth. And truth is often uncomfortable in the beginning. But once you confront it, it becomes your strength. Think of a warrior preparing for battle. He does not begin by running to the battlefield unprepared. He begins by sitting with his mind, disciplining his thoughts, sharpening his inner clarity. For if his mind is weak, his sword will fail. The same is true for you. If your inner world is scattered, no matter how far you travel outward, you will carry chaos with you. But if your inner world is strong, even if you stay within four walls, you will radiate strength to the entire universe. This is why the greatest journey begins within, because it is the foundation for everything else. On the 20th of September, when the message is to not go outside, do not see it as being locked away. See it as being invited to step onto the most sacred road of all, the road inward. Begin the journey from the restless mind to the quiet heart. Begin the journey from confusion to clarity. Begin the journey from fear to trust. This is not a journey measured in miles, but in moments of awareness. Each breath you take in silence is a step forward. Each thought you observe without judgment is a milestone. Each layer of fear you peel away is a mountain crossed. And by the end of the day, though your body has not moved an inch beyond your door, your soul may have traveled further than in all the years of outward chasing. Consider meditation. People think it is sitting and doing nothing. But meditation is the deepest journey one can take. When you close your eyes and observe your thoughts, you realize you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. You begin to see that the storms of worry, anger, and desire are like clouds passing through the sky of your mind, but the sky itself remains vast and untouched. That realization alone is worth more than a lifetime of outward accomplishments. Because when you discover that inner sky, you discover freedom. Nothing outside can truly disturb you anymore, because you are anchored within. The greatest thinkers, the greatest leaders, the greatest teachers in history have all known this truth. They retreated into silence before stepping into action. They understood that without the inner journey, the outer journey is meaningless. You can conquer the world and still feel empty inside if you have not conquered yourself. You can achieve fame, wealth, and recognition, but if you cannot sit alone with your own thoughts, all of it is worthless. That is why the divine sometimes pauses your outer movement, to remind you that the real work has been waiting inside. When you begin to journey within, you discover something profound. The world outside is only a reflection of the world inside. If your mind is restless, the world seems restless. If your heart is full of anger, the world feels hostile. If your soul is at peace, the world feels harmonious. In truth, you are not seeing the world as it is. You are seeing the world as you are. That is why the inner journey changes everything. When you heal within, the world outside appears healed. When you grow within, the world outside expands. When you strengthen within, the challenges outside no longer feel impossible. The greatest journey begins within, because it is the key to transforming everything without. Think of a seed planted in the soil. For days, nothing appears on the surface. You may think nothing is happening. But beneath the soil, the seed is breaking, transforming, sending roots deep into the earth. Without that inner work, there will never be a tree. Without that unseen transformation, there will never be fruit. In the same way, your inner journey may not look like progress to the outside world. People may think you are standing still. But within you, roots are growing, strength is forming, clarity is taking shape. And when the time is right, the tree of your life will grow strong, unshakable by storms, bearing fruit for generations. This is the gift of staying inside when you are called to. It is the gift of choosing depth over speed, silence over noise, inward growth over outward chasing. On the 20th of September, if you obey the divine command and do not go outside, you are not wasting a day. You are beginning a sacred journey, one that most people spend lifetimes avoiding. You are learning to sit with yourself, to listen, to observe, to understand. And in that stillness, you may discover answers that years of running never gave you. You may discover that what you were looking for in the world was never in the world. It was always within your own soul. And once you realize this, every outer journey, you take after this will be different. You will no longer be searching blindly. You will be walking with clarity, with purpose, with strength. So do not fear the instruction to stay inside. Do not see it as a prison. See it as a pilgrimage. A pilgrimage not to a faraway temple, but to the sacred temple within your own heart. And when you complete that pilgrimage, you will carry peace with you wherever you go. You will step outside on the next day, not as the same person who entered, but as someone transformed. Because the greatest journeys do not begin with footsteps on the ground. The greatest journeys begin the moment you dare to close your eyes, breathe, and walk within yourself. And once you have taken that journey, the world outside can never be the same again. We live in an age where constant movement is glorified. Society praises speed, celebrates hustle, and convinces us that if we are not always moving, always producing, always running toward the next goal, we are falling behind. And yet, the truth is the opposite. It is in stillness, not motion, that life reveals its deepest wisdom. When you are always in motion, when your mind and body are restless, you do not see clearly. You run so fast that the treasures along the road remain hidden to your eyes. You rush so loudly that the quiet voice of wisdom is drowned out by the noise of your own footsteps. But when you stop, when you breathe, when you sit still, the truth that was always there begins to emerge. Stillness reveals what motion hides, and this is why the divine sometimes commands us to pause, to not step outside, to not chase, to not rush, because in that sacred pause lies the lesson that will transform your life. Imagine a lake on a windy day. The water is disturbed, restless, full of ripples. If you look into the surface of that lake, you cannot see your reflection clearly. Everything is distorted, broken, unclear. But if the wind stops, if the water becomes still, suddenly the reflection becomes perfect. You see yourself as you truly are. This is the power of stillness. When the winds of constant activity calm down, when you stop running outward, the reflection of truth becomes visible. You begin to see who you truly are. You begin to see the guidance that was always waiting. You begin to see the next step of your journey with clarity. Motion, though necessary in parts of life, often hides that clarity, but stillness unveils it. Think about how many mistakes in life are made because of rushing. How many times have you spoken words in haste, only to regret them later? How many times have you made decisions under pressure, only to wish you had paused? How many times have you ignored your intuition because you were moving too fast to hear it? Every human being has felt this truth. Motion blinds us. Stillness awakens us. The pause that you resist is often the pause that would have saved you from pain. The divine knows this, and that is why when the command comes, do not go outside, it is not a warning to imprison you. It is a gentle reminder to stop, to breathe, to see what you could never see while running. The mind is like a wild horse. If you let it run endlessly, it will exhaust itself. It will stumble. It will drag you into chaos. But if you bring it to stillness, if you calm it, if you train it, the wild horse becomes your ally, carrying you far with grace and strength. Your mind in stillness is not weak, it is powerful. Because in stillness, the mind is not clouded by noise. It becomes sharp, clear, aware. That awareness is the source of strength. The world teaches you that strength comes from doing more, but true strength comes from knowing when to be still. Consider nature itself. Trees do not grow by constantly moving. They grow by being rooted in stillness. Mountains do not gain their majesty by racing from place to place. Their power comes from their immovable presence. Even the stars above, burning with immense power, appear still in the night sky. The universe is teaching us every day that stillness is not weakness. Stillness is depth. Stillness is power. Stillness is wisdom. When you are still, you connect to the eternal rhythm of life. The rhythm that does not rush yet accomplishes everything. The rivers flow, the seasons change, the sun rises and sets, and all of it happens without haste. When you align with stillness, you align with that eternal rhythm. But stillness is not easy because stillness confronts you with yourself. When the body is still, the mind's noise becomes louder at first. Thoughts you ignored come rushing forward. Feelings you suppressed begin to surface. It is uncomfortable, and this is why people resist it. They would rather keep moving, keep distracting, keep escaping. But if you can endure that discomfort, if you can sit with yourself long enough, something miraculous happens. The noise begins to fade. The thoughts settle like dust falling to the ground. The emotions calm like waves on a quiet sea. And what remains is clarity. What remains is presence. What remains is truth. This is why stillness reveals what motion hides. The truth was always there, but it could not be seen through the storm. Think of how the greatest revelations often come in silence. When prophets, sages, and seekers of wisdom withdrew into caves, mountains, or forests, it was not to escape life, but to discover life's essence. In silence, they heard the voice of the divine. In stillness, they touched eternity. The message is clear. Motion fills your hands with activity, but stillness opens your heart to understanding. If you want to hear the divine whisper, you must stop drowning it with noise. If you want to see the path clearly, you must stop running blindly. Stillness is the sacred doorway to vision. On 20th September, if the divine instruction is to not step outside, do not see it as a limitation. See it as an invitation to stillness. See it as a day where the distractions of the outside world are put aside so that you can finally hear the voice that has been waiting inside. The phone calls, the noise, the business of life, these will always pull you outward. But when the divine calls you to stillness, it is a rare opportunity to reconnect with the wisdom within. Use that day not to rush but to rest, not to chase but to listen, not to move but to be. Because in being, you will find everything that doing could not give you. The paradox of life is that stillness is the birthplace of the greatest movement. When an archer draws his bow, he holds it still before releasing the arrow. When a musician tunes her instrument, she pauses before creating harmony. When a warrior breathes before battle, that stillness becomes the source of his power. In the same way, your stillness today will create your strength tomorrow. The motion you take after stillness will not be restless. It will be purposeful. It will not be blind. It will be guided. Stillness prepares you, while motion without stillness blinds you. When you learn to value stillness, you stop fearing the pause. You stop fearing days of silence. You stop fearing moments when the world tells you to step back. Instead, you see them as sacred opportunities. You begin to ask, what lesson is this stillness revealing to me? What truth is waiting for me here? What wisdom have I been too busy to see? And every time you ask with sincerity, the answers arrive. They may not come in words. Sometimes they come as peace washing over your heart. Sometimes they come as clarity in a decision you have struggled with. Sometimes they come as an insight, so simple yet so powerful that it changes the way you see life forever. But they always come because stillness always reveals what motion hides. Life is not about endless motion. Life is about balance. Just as the inhale requires the exhale, just as day requires night, just as movement requires rest, so too your journey requires stillness. If you only inhale and never exhale, you suffocate. If you only move and never rest, you collapse. If you only chase and never pause, you lose yourself. The divine knows this, and that is why you are sometimes called into stillness. Not to slow you down, but to give you balance. Not to weaken you, but to strengthen you. Not to punish you, but to prepare you. So when you are told, do not go outside, take it as a sacred call. Close your eyes, breathe deeply. Allow the restless winds of your mind to calm, and wait. In that waiting, you will begin to see. You will see yourself more clearly. You will see the guidance that was always near. You will see the world not as a blur of rushing, but as a canvas of meaning. And when the stillness has done its work, When the time is right to move again, your steps will no longer